Hello, good morning everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are and whenever you are.
Hello.
Here we have the lovely Kat on the chat.
With my cheeky cats behind me, I'm going to go and sort them out.
The cats.
Yeah. Have a lovely session and I'll be on the chat.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kat.
You're welcome.
We've already got people saying hello. Carolyn and Titus. Anyone else, feel free to say hello. It's always nice to hear from you and where you're coming from. Gillian, good morning. Pascal from Hague. Lovely to see you. And we've got Dinah as well, and Kim and Jane and Simonetta, and hello to everyone. This is lovely. Okay, so we are carrying on with our lung sort of period of time that we've got to work with. So we've got a great point of the week, an interesting one, not always one of the sort of big well-known ones, but we'll have a play with it and see what comes up. Being a lung week, we're going to play with some breathwork stuff and explore some things with that. We're going to look into a bit of the mental level. We've got loads of people saying hello now. Hello. But first of all, like I always like to start us off, how's about we start off with a nice circle sense and a connection to kind of set up the space and the class. It's okay if you're still writing in, but let's just take a moment. You can be sitting for this. Give yourself a breath in and a breath out, and then take your attention inside. And imagine being in a circle of people, which is all the people who are with us in this class, whether that is live going out in this moment or whether that is watching in replay later. Time and space are just softening and sinking in together a little bit into this circle as well. So this lovely circle of people. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for making it what it is. And a bit of appreciation. Lovely. Here we all are. It's a lovely space. Okay, you can bring your eyes open. And let's have a little look. I'm just going to show you some slides. You've seen all of these before, no doubt. But the metal element, which traditionally is not just metal, but is metal as well as precious stones. So it's this sense of preciousness as well as firmness. So firm material. It's to do with the autumn. Perfect timing. It's a yin phase. We know that the sort of wonderful, great warmth and activity of summer is starting to decline. And very soon we know that the leaves will start to fall. So everything has that downward quality. The sap will sink from the trees back into the roots. It is to do, like I said, firmness, but also structure and persistence, determination, but also value and borders and boundaries. So we're going to look into a couple of those things. And if you look down to the mental level, then there can be, it says rigidity of thoughts. So that would be a more imbalanced, if it's over rigid, but a firmness and a structure is more balanced. And then there's being able to let go when appropriate of structures of thought and the like. Okay. And that's in the upper burner. So drawing in the qi from the air around us as we breathe. Every time we take a breath, we draw in qi from the air, and then that descends with the lungs. It descends down, and that merges with the kidneys, and it connects in as well in the chest with the heart. There's loads of wonderful stuff that goes on from the lungs. Okay, well, let me just get rid of this for the moment. Okay, so there's a little bit of information, bit of blah, 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 blah. let's get started doing some stuff. So I'll get you to stand up. We'll go through a bit of a scan as usual. We will look at the 3 burning spaces. I'm not going to be so fixed on working through the burners, throughout the whole session. This one's going to be a little bit different, but let's still do that. And let's explore where the breath feels in our body. So standing up or sitting if you prefer. Okay. So just find yourself sitting or standing fairly easily. Maybe just move the body a bit so you can feel where all the bits are. So it's not too much of a makeup of separate things, but this is your whole body. Maybe just give yourself a sigh or two or a yawn. Okay. So we're going to do a scan. So bring your attention up to the space above your head. So be just in the space above your head. And just bring attention through until you reach the crown of your head, and then down through the actual cranium, the skull, the sides and back and front of your head, through the face, your sense organs, your jaw muscles, through the back of the head and neck. How's your neck today? How's the back of your neck? And through the front and sides of your neck. And out across the shoulders. How are the shoulders doing this morning? And we're going to scan down through the arms. So going from the shoulder joints down to the upper arms and the space around them. And then through the elbow joints and the forearms, the space around them, and then the wrists. More finer detail of the wrist and hand and fingers. Okay, maybe give the fingers a bit of a wobble, wibble or wiggle. And the whole of the arms and the shoulder girdle. How's that part of your body? Okay. Attention back into the chest and upper back and scanning down through the body, through the rib cage, inside and outside, the space around the body as well, and down through the abdomen. You've got the spine but no ribs now. You've got the belly and the organs. You've got the space around your abdomen. How is the whole of your torso? Anywhere that your attention is being drawn. And then go through the pelvis, the sacrum in the back, hips around the side. And how about through the thighs now? So you're the longest bone in the body, it's the femur in the thighs. So how are all the muscles and tendons and fascia and skin around that? And the space around your thighs as well. And then we've got the biggest joints in the body, your knee joints. How are your knees today? And moving through the knees into the calf muscles and the shin bones, through the lower leg and the space around the lower leg, and the ankles and the finer details of the foot and toes. Get a sense of the whole of the legs and pelvis all together. Anywhere that your attention is being drawn to. Okay, and now get a sense of the whole body as one unit, one thing. Whole body. And just checking in with yourself, is there anywhere or any couple of places where your attention is drawn to? And just notice what that's like. Okay, you can come out of that awareness when you're ready. Maybe have a little bit of a shake off. So for me, I'm really noticing my knees this morning, feeling a little bit weak and tired, and tension in my neck and shoulders, which, as you all know, that's my usual. So for me, I've noticed that. I haven't got pen and paper today, so I can't draw it down for you. But we're going to do the 3 burning spaces. So we'll start in the lower burner. So from the pubic bone up to the belly button. You can place your hands on. So this is your bladder and kidneys and your intestines. Okay, so sinking into the space of the lower burner. And just noticing how it's feeling inside. What's it like if it had an image or a color or sound or a quality? What would that be? What is it like? Something there, even if it's vague. Okay, so we can now bring our attention from our belly button up to our diaphragm, which is just basically where the ribs meet. Same amount of space. And in that middle burner, we have the liver and the gallbladder and the stomach and the spleen and pancreas. Okay, so middle burner. Instantly different for me. But what's it like for you in this middle burning space? And if that had a quality, a sound, word, image, metaphorical quality, what's it like for you? And is it different to the lower burner? Come back down to the lower burner again. Middle burner. Yeah, bit of a difference. And now to the upper burner. So from that diaphragm, the place where the ribs meet, there's a xiphoid process sticking down to the collarbones. Again, same amount of space. Okay, so you can place a hand on the chest. Just listen into the upper burner. And the upper burner is the one we really want to notice for this time as well. The autumn season, the lungs. So what's it like in the upper burner? Okay, very different here. And in you, is it you getting a sound, image, sense quality, a metaphorical quality? Just notice. And is that different? Middle burner? What's the middle burner like again? Oh yeah, it's like that. Upper burner? Right. Okay, so now we've got a really clear sense. I'm going to try and make sure we have enough time at the end to check back in, which I usually never do, but maybe today will be different. Okay, first things first though, I would like to ask you in a poll, which burner do you most want to work on today? The lower, the middle, or the upper? So if everyone has the moment to come and just click on the clickers, hopefully it works for you. Okay, no, it was fairly even for a moment, but then upper burner, that suits us absolutely down to the ground. That's the one that we really want to work on today. And kind of obvious that it's going to be coming up because it's autumn outside, you know? It's the season for it. It makes sense. Okay, now there is one more thing I'd like you to do, and you can do this from standing or sitting. I'm Carolyn, who says, my lower burner feels like a drum. I'm sure we will work with enough of all the burners to help with these things. And hopefully, even with the breathing of the upper burner that connects to the kidneys of the lower burner. First of all, whether sitting or standing, I would like us to connect in with the breath and not to make it do anything, but just to check in with it, to find out where it is. And then I'm going to give you a poll about where you feel your breath is in your body. So just leaving keyboards and phones and things alone for a moment. Just let your attention gently turn inwards. Not changing anything, not doing anything, just noticing inwardly. Being aware of the breath as it comes in and goes out again. Breath gently rolling in. Maybe it's through the nose. Maybe it's through the mouth. Is it coming in through the nose or is it coming in through the mouth? And when it goes out, is it going out through the nose or is it going out through the mouth? Doesn't matter either way, we're just noticing. And where in your body is the breath going to? Is it more in the upper part of the lungs and torso? More deeper into the lungs, the rib cage? Maybe you're feeling it into your abdomen a bit. Maybe you're noticing it deep and deep into the body, down almost to the pelvis. Or maybe it is just up around the shoulders and the chest. And that's okay. Anything is okay. Just noticing. Okay. And start to bring your attention back out. You can have a nice yawn or a stretch if you want to. And I'm going to bring up this poll of here. When you breathe in, where does the lowest part of the breath go to? Is it just in the upper lungs, up here? Is it, and I didn't get us to do a strong breath, I just wanted to just have a completely normal, natural breath. Is it more into the lung body, sort of around this area? Is it more into the upper abdomen, around these lower ribs area? Or is it more into the lower abdomen, around the lower belly? So, do you know what? Actually, I noticed when I was doing that, it was the lowest part of the breath was probably only just into the sort of lower lungs, maybe towards the upper abdomen. So that's where I was when I was doing that breathing, just naturally. So we've got most people saying the upper abdomen, and the rest of everyone else is fairly even across whether it's upper lungs, generally into deeper lungs, or whether it's into deeper lower abdomen. So that's interesting. So we've got most people in the upper abdomen. We're going to try and see if we can come back to all of these things, like I said. And for now, let's get started stepping up and starting to move about. Okay. The first thing that we are going to do is just get a sense of moving the body. So when you did the scan, just maybe get a bit of a shake, a bit of a loosen, wobbling different parts, whatever feels sort of like all right for you. Anywhere that you noticed your attention being drawn to, any part of the body that was a bit uncomfortable, start to loosen that area up. So for instance, I'm going to kind of like shake around just above the knees, the kneecaps, and around the backs of the knees. I'm just going to rub that area to sort of like warm up and loosen up the knees, because remember I said the knees. But for you, it might be like, getting into the lower back, like this sort of thing, or it could be any particular movement. Maybe you're wanting to stretch out the sides. You find what's right for you. Okay, my next thing was the shoulders and the neck. I'm going to make a bit of sound as well. Whatever's right kind of sound for you. And in fact, if you really want to get into it, tune into the area. For me, it's up here, wherever it is for you. And just feel into it and find out what kind of a sound that quality would be if it were a sound. Okay, and then whenever you're ready, take a nice deep breath in and make that sound, the energy of that sound, actually voice it. So I'm going to do this after 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Sometimes just to acknowledge that sort of an energy that's there is enough for it to start shifting and moving. So now just take the movement of your body, less specifically, but more generally, just the whole body getting a bit of movement. Maybe make it a bit more gentle. Okay. And then let that get smaller and smaller and slighter until the movement is just a feeling of vibration and movement inside of the body. And then let that sink smaller and smaller into your center until it's an idea of movement. And then let that go. And notice the space inside. Okay, fantastic. Now, I'd like you to, we'll just do a little bit of the 3 burning spaces. How much time have I got? Already 22 minutes in. We are just going to do a little bit of rubbing of the lower dantian, the lower burner. They're not the same thing, but the lower dantian is in the lower burner. And if you are unsure of the difference between the two, you are welcome to look that information up. There's plenty of information out there. So we are not just rubbing the area because it feels nice, which it does. This is like that lower burner space I said about. But also because we're trying to bring a sense of warmth or energy or light through your hands into this area. But remember, when you did the scan of the lower burner, what was it like? What does it need? For me, the lower burner was a bit vague. I didn't get a lot of information. And that says one thing, which is that it's a bit unsure of itself, a bit unclear. So I'm bringing a bit of clarity and a bit of lightness. I'm not trying to overstimulate it. I'm not trying to go bring loads of yang in. I'm not trying to be really like calm it down. Just bringing a little bit of lightness, a bit of clarity. Maybe you need a bit more stimulation, in which case I would encourage you to bring your hands to your lower back and be a bit more vigorous about it. You can bounce in your knees so that your arms aren't doing all the work. Really get in, and that really helps to strengthen those kidneys. Whereas if it's more calming it down, or it's just a bit of a lightness, then work more in the front here. But bring that energy in through the hands. Okay. Nice. And then we're just going to tap down the bladder. So that's all the way down through the middle of the backs of the legs. And then I turn my feet out. And you're coming up the sort of inside aspect of the backs of the legs for the kidney. So down the bladder to the little toe. Squeeze up, underside of the foot, inner back of the leg, kidney. bladder, kidney. Okay, and of course, we're going to do kidney 1. I'm going to bring the chair over. I'll take off my socks. You can see the soles of my feet nice and clearly. And you're into that area. Remember, it's like 1/3 of the way down. Oh, kidney 1 just feels so nice. Oh, it's like going home, that sort of a feeling. But I mean, you know, if that is something that you truly appreciate, that sense, that feeling of sinking into a going home kind of feeling. And actually it brings with it, for me at least, a certain sense of letting go as well, which is very important to the qualities that we're going to be tuning into today. So if anything like that comes up, fantastic, let me know if anything other than that comes up. So now you can start to work around the sole of the foot in general. And you can pull your toes about, and you got the thumbs in the top. You can go into things like liver 3, liver 4, go into the gallbladder points, or just get in between all of the bones. And maybe they'll click. You can give them a bit of a slap. Wakey, wakey, kidney 1. And then, of course, before we swap over, notice the difference. One big fluffy foot. Okay. There. Nice. Oh, I could almost stay here all day. What would be even better, of course, is if someone else was doing this. And as we said before, kidney 1 is a great point for yin. So if the yin is a bit deficient, what will tend to happen is you'll feel tired, but you'll have bouts of lots of energy and then feel tired again. And that's because the yang comes through, but then there's nothing backing it. There's not enough yin backing it, so you kind of drop again. And often the yin is, because the yin is cooling, then you'll also feel sort of sudden bursts of heat. So sometimes it's called an empty heat. And this is great for replenishing the yin. I haven't been sleeping recently. This is why I'm really kind of like with this point. Okay, do a general kind of squeeze around of the foot. Points in the top of the foot if you want. Slapping kidney 1. Okay, I'll put my socks back on. And I'll get my chair out of the way, if I can get my sock on properly. Okay, now, I'll just maybe massage the feet into the floor a bit. Yeah. Okay. Spread the feet out. Let that kidney 1 point relax and open. We've tapped down the channels of the bladder and kidney, so just let them be open. Connecting in with where we've been rubbing and connecting here. Lovely. Instantly allows my alignment to open up. That's what the burping is. And then one of the breaths we're going to be doing today is going to involve the legs. But first of all, I'd just like you to get a sense of breathing into the chest. So just breathe into the chest and fill up the chest. Here we go. And relax and breathe out. Noticing what that's like. Okay. Now breathe in more into the ribs. Feels a bit different. If you can, relaxing, letting the breath sink down into the belly. So breathe now into the belly, or at least breathe in and let that sink into the belly. So breathing in. And relax. Different feeling in the body and possibly in how you feel in yourself. But now we're going to do something a little bit different. So those sort of usual sort of things we tend to focus on is up here with breathing. Imagine now that your feet are your nose. They are the instrument through which air is drawn in. Your legs are the sort of sinuses and the lungs, the areas which expand with that breath as it's drawn in, and then get smaller as you breathe out. So imagine that you're going to breathe in and draw up and expand like that, and then breathe out and the air goes back down. So through this lovely openness that we've created from the feet all the way through the legs, breathing in, feel those legs expand with that breath, and breathe out, letting it sink down. Imagine breathing in through the feet into the legs, and breathing out and down. Noticing what it's like, breathing in through the feet and legs, and relaxing, breathing out. Okay. How's that? Much difference from trying to think in terms of breathing into different parts of the torso? And did anyone notice whether they were breathing deeper in down here than when you were trying to breathe into your abdomen? I always find that I do. And there was an old saying from, I believe it was a Taoist called Chuang-Tzu, who said the fool breathes with his chest, the wise man breathes with his belly, but the sage breathes with the feet. Different ways you can take that. Okay. So there's the first bit. However, before we carry on, okay, I'll come to that later actually. What time have we got? Halfway through already. Let's just go through the middle burner and then come to the upper burner, and we will hit all of the lovely, interesting stuff afterwards. The sage breathes with his feet. Jane. Yeah. So, okay, I won't carry on with that. We'll move on. But yeah, essentially, okay, much better. Ooh, interesting. That's the kind of like the gist of it in a sort of silly way. So now we're going to move into the middle burner. First of all, just like feel around the lower rib. How tender is it, or how uncomfortable, or how overly firm might it feel? Trying to feel around the edge of where the ribs meet the abdomen. Oof, it's a little bit uncomfortable for me in the upper area. Not too bad going into the lower area. Okay, so then just give a little bit of a gentle tapping around the ribs, these lower rib area, into the sides of the body. Often when many of you have had Shiatsu, many of you do Shiatsu. And when we have that moment where we just need to kind of yawn or take in a certain kind of It's often because there's a bit of a release of energy, a bit of a release of Qi. And that activates a moment of yawning, sighing, or taking in a bit of a deeper breath. And as I said earlier, when we breathe, we draw in Qi from the heavens and the surrounding areas. So it's all very simple, but perfectly linked. Okay, now that we've tapped a bit, let's do a little bit of stretching. So I want you to reach your hand out sideways, led by the hand. It just reaches out like that. And then bring it in, reaching out the other way. And allow the opposite side to kind of feel a bit of a stretch like that. Your heel can come off the ground. Okay, and take it up a bit. And then straight up. Opening up this side now. Just go as comfortable for your shoulder as is okay. We went out, but this time now coming up. And maybe you can just start to tip over as well, really opening out that side. Up, 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 up. However's comfortable for you, relax the shoulder and just tip over a little bit. Okay, a little bit of a shake off. And we can also tap down the front. You've got the belly, stomach, outer front of the thigh, middle of the top of the foot, inner aspect of the front of the foot, inner front of the thighs and the belly. Okay, and now the outer sides, so the hip, outside edge of the leg, inside edge of the leg for liver. Gallbladder now, and then, okay, lovely. And now let's just once again have a little bit of a feel around the ribs. Is that feeling exactly the same or a little bit different than before? So for me, it's feeling a bit easier. Not so much tightness, not quite so much tenderness. Right. I mean, definitely could do with more work, but you know, we don't have lots of time, so we're just going to carry on. Upper burner. Now, let's just do a little stretch that's not the lungs to begin with, because we want to mix it up a little bit. We're going to be crazy. No, it's just because we often do this heart protector stretch. And it's a very lovely one. So we're just going to reach forwards, breathing in. And then as we breathe out, open out those middle fingers. End of the breath, just let it rest there. And then let go. Okay, breathing in. And breathing out. Let that stretch just be felt. You're not pulling, just be felt in the arms and chest. One more time. Okay. Ah, lovely. Just give a bit of a shake off. And we're going to see what it feels like just opening the arms out. And as I've said before, shoulders, back, if it's achy, just go to where it feels okay. You know, however it is for you. But get a sense of the arms stretching and opening and how that feels like that. Okay? So just have a little moment, just noticing how that feels. In the shoulders, in the arms, in the chest, in the upper back. Okay, just a little pointer. Cool. Let's have a little tap across the top of the chest. Tapping across the lung channel. And then we're just going to come above the bicep, which is that muscle there. And then just above the middle of the forearm, not quite on top, still on the inside edge to the thumb. And then from the index finger, now we're on the upper edge of the arm, upper edge of the shoulder, and just above the collarbone to the neck. The top of the chest underneath the collarbone, just above the bicep, above the middle of the inside thumb, index finger, top of the arm, top of the shoulder above the collarbone. One last time. Thumb, index finger, top of the arm. And across. So remember, you got above the bicep, above the center of the arm to the thumb, and then to the top of the arm, top sort of ridge, and above the collarbone. Last time. And just stroke. Okay. We can do. Oh, there's so much, so many wonderful things I'd love to do with you all, and we just never quite have the time. Already 40 minutes in. Let's see what we can get done in 5 minutes. We're going to do a few arm swings because I just think it is one of the best things for us. I'll turn sideways so you can see. So just let your arms just kind of swing a little bit like this. Just standing up straight. Not doing anything in particular, just letting them swing in front and behind your hara. Now, if you bend your knees at each pass, bounce, bounce, you can kind of make them swing a bit more just through using the bounce of the knees. And when you do this, you can get into your alignment. So head drawn up to heavens, spine hanging down, sacrum sinking, soft in the hips, the knees and the ankles, feel the ground. Okay, loosen the shoulders, settled in the hara, bouncy, 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 bouncy. Now with your bounce, you can encourage the bounce behind so that they come up higher behind you. No need to come any higher than shoulder height in front of you. Notice that doesn't really come any higher than shoulder height, really. Okay, now is where we get fun, in my opinion. Fun. Point your fingers and your index fingers and thumb. Okay. Now we've got one of two ways that we can start to get the swing going. So I'm going to turn and face you as I swing, so you can see the difference between these two ways. The first is going straight back. And this is just by encouraging the hands to be going like directly straight behind. Or, if you want to, it's a slightly different feeling by letting them swing outwards more. And again, it's just a vague encouragement by the hands or the arms and shoulders to let them go outwards more than going straight behind. You see that difference? Legs are doing the same, body's doing the same, alignment is still in, and now just encouraging them outwards more. There you go. It gives a different feeling. So you choose which one you like the most, and then we've got another way of playing, which is where your hands now take the focus and turn your thumbs so that they're facing downwards. Whether you're going outwards or straight behind you, notice the difference maybe. And then you've got, with your thumbs turned inwards, what difference does that make? See, it all stretches different parts of our shoulder, upper back and chest. You can have your thumbs pointing straight upwards now when they're in front of you. Or you could have your thumbs turned outwards. So you see you've got either the going outwards with the arms or going straight back with the arms, and then you can have the hands in different positions. And it all makes different kinds of feelings and effects in the body, and you can get to play with what it's like for you as to what feels right. Okay. Now just let the knees stop bouncing, the arms stop swinging, but just naturally let all that movement just carry on until it comes to a natural close in the body, until that sense of movement has become smaller and more internal, just as before, until right in your center there's an idea of the movement, and then let go of that and notice the space inside. Okay. Fantastic. So now let's just try out this stretch that we did a moment ago and see if it feels any different. So we're just going to breathe in, stretch up. Okay, does that feel any different from before when you tried it? For me, it does. It feels a bit freer and easier, like especially not so much restriction on my shoulders and upper back, which is great because that's where my tension was. How about for you? Maybe we'll just have a couple of extra breaths anyway. You can make this a breathe in and sigh, or you can make it a yawn. Nice. Okay. Now I'm going to get us to play with point of the week, as well as reading something from the Tao Te Ching. So I'm going to bring this up first. So this is my copy of the Tao Te Ching, and it was written about 2,500 years ago, and it's fantastic. And if there's anyone out there who doesn't have a copy, I would encourage you to get a copy. There are a lot of different translations, almost too many to go across, but 3 particular translators who I feel are great. There's a lady named Ursula Le Guin, and perhaps, Kat, you have the chance to type that in. I think you may know the name, I'm not sure. Ursula Le Guin. There's this person called Gia Fu Feng, sorry. I'll type that in a minute. And another man called Stephen Mitchell. So those 3 are my personal recommendations, but there are tons out there. It's the most translated and commented on book ever. And if it's not the most, then it's the one after the Bible. So it's pretty popular. What I'm going to read to you is chapter 11. Thanks, Kat. Chapter 11. And just let yourself sit and listen and contemplate what the sound is of this. Chapter 11 says, 30 spokes share the wheel's hub. It is the center hole that makes the wheel useful. Shape clay into a vessel, and it is the space within that makes it useful. Cut doors and windows for a room, for it is the holes which make it useful. Therefore, profit comes from what is there, usefulness comes from what is not there. One of my favorite passages. It is such a fantastic thing for us to recognize the importance of emptiness or space or non-being. But, for instance, really simple way of looking at it, you've got a cup. Well, a cup is fantastic. You can look at a cup and it's really beautiful and that's fine. But a cup is meant to have stuff poured into it. So it is the space inside that makes it what it is. Otherwise, it would just be a lump of clay. So this sense of space and the boundaries around that space are both important. And so boundaries and space together, very important. That's something I'd like us to just remember, and maybe we'll be able to have the time to get into it a bit more. Thank you very much for putting those on, Kat. And James, yes, Gia Fu Feng. He's done a few books. These are now out of print, but you can find old copies. And the photographer is a lady called Jane English. And earlier on, I commented from someone called Chuang Tzu, who Gia Fu Feng and Jane English have also done a book about Chuang Tzu's Inner Chapters. Another book I recommend. Excellent. Now, point of the week before we run out of time, please. So here we go. Lung 5, Qi Gong, cubit march. So as you can see, it says next to the biceps tendon, or the tendon biceps brachii, the cubital crease, hence what's called cubit march. So if you can kind of vaguely see on my arm here, there's like this shadow that runs along here. So this line of shadow is the tendon that runs from my bicep, which, I mean, there's not much of my bicep here, but you can kind of vaguely see that there's this thin strip of muscle there. And then there's a shadow that runs down from it. And that's the tendon that comes up of it. So if we are just outwards into the pasty white gap here, just outwards from the shadow, on the elbow crease, the cubital crease, on the elbow crease. And the reason why it's called marsh is because the quality of the qi is no longer like a stream that's sort of, flowing and wiggling and moving like this. It kind of hits this area and becomes more like a marsh, where it kind of slows down and it spreads out and it becomes a little bit more sort of like that. Whereas before it's a bit more like, there's a sort of there's like a spring here where it's more like it's kind of coming out, and you've got this wonderful qi that comes up and out, and then it streams along here, and then when it gets here, it kind of just spreads out a bit more. So that's why it's called a marsh. And yes, Gillian Kaur, as you've written on, Stephen Mitchell, Stephen with a PH, Mitchell, Mitchell. Unfortunately not Michael Mitchell, but Stephen Mitchell. Canadian guy who has done a lot of translation. And I've just typed in Chuang Tzu was the other Chinese writer from a couple of thousand years ago. Okay. So now, point of the week, lung 5, is said to regulate and tonify the lungs as a whole. It expands and releases the chest, and is said to be good for elbow pain. Right. So there's 3 main things that it says there. Fairly easy physical stuff. I'll get rid of the slide now. Okay, so I would like us to have a little play with this. First of all, on one side, you choose which side you want to start with. Oh, I'm cramping my foot. So decide which one you want to start with. And remember, you've got the shadow here of the tendon, and you're going outwards on the crease. And you're not going all the way to the end of the crease. You're going halfway between the tendon and the outer edge of the crease. So it's about there. Okay. So first of all, I just want you to connect to this point and just see where it goes to begin with. What's it like? Do you feel like you're more in the elbow itself? Does it feel like it's more opening the channel into the shoulder and chest? Or does it seem like that's going right deep into the chest and the lungs and expanding a quality throughout the body? Ooh, I'm actually feeling something also down the channel into the thumb and forefinger. So it's activating the large intestine as well as the lung. But it's getting that release of qi into the lungs. So that's fantastic. So that's what I'm picking up. So anyone, please do post what you picked up. Chest and head melting and relaxing from James. Fantastic. That is brilliant. Yeah. Sweet. A yummy point from Kat. So there's lots of commentary here, but it's mainly on how you can combine it with lots of other things. For instance, you can combine the lung point with stomach points for reflux, vomiting, and even diarrhea, which is handy to know. But one of the things I wanted to share with you is how it can be linked with the heart. And the lung and the heart, obviously both in the upper burner, both in the chest, but they combine energy. So energy, qi has come up from the kidneys to the spleen. Spleen sends fluids and qi upwards to the heart and chest, combined with qi as we bring it in from the air. This merges and helps to create not just Zhong Qi, which is the sort of big qi of the chest that helps to get sent out around the body and around the channels, but also it helps with merging in the heart for what the heart creates as blood. So really important stuff coming together here. So I'd like us to just on the other side now, connect to the point again, just here, with the bicep, tendon, and then halfway along. But also, we're going to connect to heart 3. Now, if that's the end of the elbow crease on the inside, that's your heart 3. Then we'll come to lung 1. Now, let's just hold both of those points together. So, elbow crease, find the lower end of the elbow crease, just above the bone. And then that lung point, also on the other side of the elbow crease, not the far end of it, but just on top. And just connect into the heart and lung quality at the same time. Notice the difference. So notice what it's like physically in the body. And then notice what it's like in the sense of your mind. How's that responding? Okay. We are running out of time, and let's face it, I'm probably going to go a minute or so over. So Jane says, shoulder and chest, never gained that point much focus before, so these sessions are so very helpful. Fantastic. Helping the chest to unbind, use the breath to help open the point in a spacious manner. Yes, fantastic. And Simonetta says goes into the throat. So a calm letting go feeling comes from that. And I had initially actually quite a strong emotional reaction with the upper shoulder that's more small intestine, which is the partner to the heart, but very sort of emotional, sort of a feeling. And found that the mind wanted to kind of sink in and melt into that heart space. So it can be a lovely thing to connect points sometimes, especially if we know how. And so if someone has lung issues going on, and it's bringing about a certain, like we said before, a rigidity of thought, like very stuck in their sort of mindset and their patterns of doing things, and yet clearly they're also saying that it is causing them difficulty, then this is a kind of a point where, just as the qi is firmly flowing and then it softens and spreads, we can soften and spread, and we can calm the heart. So you can use those 2 points together, especially on that mental level. I had so much more that I wanted to do with you all, but we have run out of time. So, last thing I'm going to get us to do is, firstly, check back in with the breathing. Whereabouts is our breathing going to in the body? We had this before. So if you take your attention inwards, noticing where the breath is coming into, just as you naturally breathe. Is it the same area as before? As you breathe in, is it coming in to the upper lungs, the mid lung, upper abdomen or lower abdomen? Where's the lowest part of your breath? And now let your attention, still internally, expand out to recognizing this lovely class, this group that we've had together for this hour. And so much thanks to you all, so much love with you all. And whenever you're ready, come out. Enjoy yourself another day long. Thank you so much, Kat. Ah, there you are.
You're welcome. It was lovely. Very nourishing.
Brilliant, brilliant. Have yourself a wonderful day, Kat. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Remember to play with your lungs and do plenty of breathing exercises at this time of year. It will help you to stay strong as we move from autumn to winter later on.
Wonderful. Bye.
Bye.